Back in the early 2000s, I was in this little band called Soulive. Well, still am. But just for the context of the story, early 2000s, little band called Soulive. We got signed to Blue Note Records not long after we formed as a band. And I feel that a lot of why we were signed was based on our live performances, us as a band performing live. We didn't have too much studio experience under our belt as Soulive at that point. Anyway, we get signed to Blue Note. We record doing something. And after that was next. Came time for our third album. And we felt we wanted to put out an album that really showed what we did in the live context. So, what better thing to put out, what better album to put out than a live album? Okay. So, fall of 2002, we go out on a big bus tour. And I took it upon myself to record the tour. So I brought out my multi-track recording rig, and every night, or every day, really, I'd get to the venue early and set everything up and, do all the checks and balances. And we'd play the show, I'd capture it, and kind of like way back in the day, in the early days of Soulive, when I was recording every night, we'd run out after the gig and listen to it. And you kind of learn from it. You get hype on it. You say, oh man, we should try this. Let's get rid of that. In the hopes of making a great live recording. Now, you have to remember, this is 2002. I was recording with a MacBook, like a white old school MacBook, and I had 3 Metric Halo 2882 interfaces. This isn't about the technical at all, but my point is, these were the early days of recording on computers, and especially a laptop. This is going to come in later in the story. So we'd be out on the road, and many times, or a few times I should say, I'd be on the phone with Joe, my boy Joe from Metric Halo, getting technical support. Oh man, I gotta try this, and write this little bit of code in here. Okay, cool. We got things rolling, and I was feeling pretty good. We get to the Fillmore in San Francisco. Just like any other day, I show up, load my gear in, get it all like wired into their system. Everything's sounding good. Fellas show up. We sound check. I record sound check every evening. And just like every other sound check, I would delete the sound check recording. I would check it, make sure everything was cool, and I would delete it because, again, going back to the early days of recording digitally with a computer, hard drive space was expensive and we didn't have a lot of it. So I used every bit of that for the album. Any extraneous stuff had to go. So sound checks disappeared. We come back right before the show, right before we went on that hit record. We play, do the thing, split, listen, cool. Next night, next hard drive, whatever. Again, the Fillmore that night that afternoon, rolled just like every other. That night, though, that night was magical. Most times when we played the Fillmore, almost every time, it's been magical. But this night, something was in the air. We play the show, walk off stage, I hit stop. I see it's recording. I can see all the WAV files. I hit stop. Oh my goodness. The only thing that we were talking about backstage upstairs was, yo, we don't have to record anything else. This is going to be the entire album. Soulive live at the Fillmore. All we could think about was Aretha live at the Fillmore. Band of Gypsies live at the Fillmore. I mean, this was going to be for us, humbly speaking, this was our Fillmore album. So everyone is just, the energy level is so high backstage. And I was so excited. I was like, man, I got to go. I'm going to pack up my stuff. I'm going straight to the bus. I have to listen to this. I wasn't hanging with people. I wasn't trying to party. I was just out the door. Get on the bus. Get changed real quick. Get out of my gig clothes. Set everything up on the front lounge table, which I did every single night. I go open up the hard drive. Nothing was there. I looked over multiple times during the evening while we were playing because I had the rig, my recording rig was right next to me. I looked over, I could see the WAV files. I could see it recording. It was right there. I saw it. Get on the bus, plug everything in. Nothing was there. Okay. All right. A little bit of panic is setting in, but it's all right. It's got to be here somewhere. Maybe I'm just missing something. I looked all around the drive. I said, oh, well, maybe it recorded to my laptop somehow. Look, I looked everywhere. It did not exist. It was like it just never happened. The more and more I looked, and the more and more I thought about that show that we just played and how excited we all were, how excited Neil and Kraz were. They were still in the Fillmore, hanging out with everybody, riding that amazing energy. And I'm in the bus knowing that the Soulive Live at the Fillmore album was not to be, wasn't going to be. Man, it still gets me. I literally broke down in tears. I broke down in tears. I was crying at that table. Whew, man, still gets me. And then I remember the bus door opening, and Neil and Kraz come running on the bus because, again, this was the ritual. We check out the show. And again, this was the one. And they walked on, and I was like, man, fellas, like, sorry. Like, I have no idea what happened. It's just gone. Didn't record. I was so messed up. I was so messed up. And the thing that was amazing is that those dudes, instead of like freaking out at me, because it's a lot to take on, that responsibility, being on the road and recording stuff, and also being present to be a member of the band playing. And I felt that I feel like I can do that really well. So it's all good. But instead of them freaking out, blaming me, whatever, it was just like, we had this saying, the lettuce cats know about it. It's a thing. Too fat for tape. And what that means for us is there'd be so many times where you'd play a show and it was the most killing show and nobody recorded it. It was too fat for tape. It was just supposed to live in that moment, and that was it. Anyone who was there to experience it, they got a taste of it. They were there for it, but it's not for anybody else. So I said, man, it's just too fat for tape, too fat for tape. And they just were like, it's all good, man. Like, what are you going to do? I don't even say what I've learned that day, but what happened was, man, I realized that things happen. And I know this doing what I do in the studio or whatever. Like, you may think you have a great take and it just, something happens, it goes away, it didn't get recorded, it gets recorded over. Hey, just do it again. Do it better. That wasn't supposed to be the one. Those dudes had my back. They had they supported me. They got me out of my funk. And in the end, it was too fat for tape. It's all good. We went on. I recorded a bunch of other shows. We put together an album that, hopefully a lot of people listen to and dig. We were proud of it. The label was psyched with it. And, that's all that really matters in the end. But, yeah, man, those cats had my back. And I learned from that to always have people's back. Always. When I'm in the studio, things go wrong all the time. And you just have to be there for people. You have to support them. Outside of the studio, in life, things just happen. You may prepare for every and all scenarios, and something is going to happen to, I'm not going to say derail it or you, but just set you on another path. And most likely the path that you're supposed to be on. It may be uncomfortable. It may not be exactly what you thought it was going to be, but it certainly helps when you have people who have your back. So that is Soulive live at the Fillmore. All right.